Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very, very senior and accomplished professional from Rome, Italy, Alessandra Bitelli. Alessandra, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Alessandra is an executive and life coach at Asterys Lab. She's an expert in women empowerment. She's a consultant in the field of training, facilitation, and coaching for personal and professional development. So, Alessandra, let's start with your journey as a coach. What made you decide to work as a freelance professional instead of working as a corporate professional?
More freedom, I think, having more freedom. Working as a freelance professional has the advantage of deciding what kind of commitment you have to take, how much time one wants to invest on his job. And for me, I have to say, most of all, I wanted to be free to follow my husband. We have been moved several times because of his job. And this was the only way to keep my job and reinventing myself every single time. So I was able to do this because I was a professional.
Wonderful. And tell me a little bit about your own background. And how has this supported your coaching philosophy, your style, and your values?
I'm a pedagogist, and I always wanted to work in helping people and myself, of course, in developing new ways of facing difficulties or finding new strategy in order to change the what you call the dysfunctional patterns, to make it possible to step forward to new objectives. So my background as a pedagogist has always supported my coaching style and my values, because my very purpose is facilitating people who wants to change.
And when you talk about, change, can you give me some examples of people you may have worked with without, of course, giving any names?
I normally help people in changing. It might be changing job or cultural change, because because I've moved several times, I know how hard it is moving in a new country, adapting to a new culture. So this was especially when I lived in the UK, I've worked on transition several times, many times, because of people who, it could be executives or also wives of the executives that have been moved. Most of my job is with women, as I told you before.
Absolutely. And, given your own background and the fact that you have moved in so many different countries, how have you been shaped by people in your life, and how are they influencing you as a coach today?
Well, I cannot deny that in my life have been some people that have influenced my way of being and the way I coach other people. I would say every single individual I met in my life and in the cities I've lived in. But in first place, I have to say that my father, who was a doctor and who unfortunately passed away very young, he passed away at the age of 62. But in fact, I had been one of the most influential in my life. We used to talk about medicine for hours, and I think I always coached people, keeping in mind that we are responsible on how we treat and care about others, while at the same time aiming to make them autonomous. So I think he was the most influential in my life.
Amazing. My next question to you is on culture. You just spoke about culture, when you were in the UK. And, all of us have some kind of an impact based on the culture we have grown up in, based on the religion we have grown up in. As a coach, how does culture impact coaching?
I would say in many ways, culture impact coaching in a transversal and continuous way, both from the point of view of the culture in which a coach operates and from the point of view on how coaching is perceived and experienced in the context in which it is delivered. Coach and client are themselves immersed in a culture that may also be different, and coaching must serve to break down these barriers, precisely because it is based on an absence of judgment. But this is in some ways controversial, because if it is true that the coach and the can and must work in suspension of judgment, especially about culture, religion, or whatever, and perhaps this is the greatest effort he has to do. On the other hand, he cannot ignore that his client is filled with the culture he or her lives in. So that has the client has deep roots and in his culture, and the coach must respect them. But at the same time, he must help his client to unhinge, if necessary, certain beliefs that could prevent him from achieving his goals. And these beliefs may come from the culture the client is in.
Very, very interesting. My next question to you is that how does the historical context in which you were raised impact your view of yourself, your clients, and your coaching?
I grew up in an era in which there was still, I must say, the concept of others. I mean, we are the sense of us and not only me. And there was the desire to feel part of a community, the sense of belonging to something that was still alive.
Right.
I can, and today, unfortunately, I see that this sense of community is less and less evident. Whereas today, instead of us, I mean, the sense of community, we hear more and more me, myself, I mean, the ego is really really big. And here the historical context in which I grew up reflects in some ways this sense of community and of caring others that has influenced and has strongly impacted on me being a coach. I mean, the coach I am today is because I grew up in that kind of culture. And I guess I decided to become a coach precisely to satisfy this desire to help others and improve also myself through others.
Very, very interesting. And, you know, each one of us, Alessandra, have our own unique perspectives. You know, we bring our own experiences, we bring our own thoughts, we bring our own, biases, if I can use that term, in every communication that we have. What are some of your unique perspectives that you bring to your coaching engagements?
I think I bring my ability to listen, to be present with the other, making him or her feel free to express and to be himself or herself beyond what others would like him or her to be. This is, I mean, what I find with my client is that they always tell me, you know, it's very difficult to be listened today. So I would also say that the ability developed over the years to see the other in a broader and systemic perspective, so that he or she can see themselves in a bigger framework, and not only in their world that they can feel as a small world.
Thank you. Great response. My next question related to coaching before we move to the next segment is about millennials and Gen Z. You know, these are the young leaders, and I'm from the baby boomers generation, the millennials and the Gen Zs have brought a breath of fresh air into all organizations. They have now come into positions of authority and leadership. As a coach, what is your thoughts on the areas they need to be coached in?
As I said before, I believe that the sense of belonging and community has been lost, and the new generation miss it, even if they are not aware of it. So coaching should serve to make them more aware of the need to fill this gap between myself and us as a community, which is what could make them more effective as a leader in a relationship, but also in their professional development. I see young people intolerant, dissatisfied, always looking for something different from what they do or what they have to do, or what they really have in a material way. And they are not aware of what are their values, their true needs, and a bit like everyone else, to tell the truth. But for these generations, I noticed that this lack is even more marked. And they should be coached not in what they really need, but in developing the awareness of what they really want. Also because this intolerance that I feel with young people or this young generation may affect they affect the relationship as leaders.
Fascinating. Alessandra, let's now move to women empowerment. You are an expert in this subject. Before we come to the challenges, tell me what got you so interested in the subject of women empowerment?
Being a woman, in first place, and having seen how hard it is sometimes to deal with what people, the expectation of others on women job, as a professional, also job as a mother, a wife, or in the society. Sometimes it's not always as easy as you may think, being a woman, especially in some societies.
And for my viewers and listeners, can you try and help us understand what are some of the empowerment challenges women face around the world?
Well, I cannot say all over the world because I haven't been everywhere.
No, wherever.
But nowadays we are observing phenomena of rebellion by women in parts of the world where freedom is not given as so guaranteed. So there is not one answer. Even if somehow women as all over the world have to fight for their freedom or diversity. And in this part of the world, they sometimes must fight for the freedom of being themselves, as I said before, or to express themselves, for instance, in jobs that until recently were considered jobs for men only. And another challenging is being able to merge professional and family life. More and more young girls tell me that they cannot have children because otherwise they wouldn't be able to make a career. And this is sad, especially in a country like Italy, where we have gross zero, which means that there are not enough young people to replace the old generation.
Correct.
In the end, among the biggest challenge women have to face is being comfortable with themselves, with their body, with aging. And this is true, especially in this part of the world where women always compare, especially young generation, young girl, compare themselves to women in advertisement, in pictures, women in newspapers. There are paper women who don't even look like themselves because of Photoshop. I may continue for hours because these three challenges I just mentioned contain dozens of others. I believe they are the main ones women are challenged challenging in these times.
Very interesting. And how are you supporting empowerment of a lot of women?
I hope I support them, mainly by coaching,
Mm-hmm.
by writing articles or through interviews, at least I hope so. I listen to women's stories and tell their stories and challenges and difficulties in my articles, sometimes giving suggestion or also by telling what they did in order to reach their goals. Sometimes they didn't. At last now I'm writing a book with a collection of all these stories in which I tell what happened, what they did to succeed, or what they should have done in order to succeed. In fact, unfortunately, they are not just success story of success. Sorry.
Well said. And I think this book will be invaluable for a lot of women to read and a lot of men to read.
I hope so.
Let me now move to your blog. It's called Intimina and Vidya Mochi Chiara, if I hope I have the pronunciation right, which is your blog on women, wellness, and well-being. Tell me a little bit about your blog and the topics you write about.
Yeah. In first place, just to be transparent, they are not my blog, but they are. I write press release and articles and release interview for them since quite a long time, especially for Vediamoci Chiara, for which I collaborate since 2014. I'm their consultant on coaching issue on women's need. They both deal with women's health and well-being. Intimina is not a blog, but a brand whose products takes care of women's intimate needs. A blog, whereas Vediamoci Chiara is a blog which aims to satisfy women's need to get information, correct information, because on the websites we may find fake news, and on their health and well-being. In particular, the Ministry of Health has recognized Vediamoci Chiara to fulfill this criterion on being reliable on what they release. Probably this is the reason for which I'm happy to collaborate with them, because I don't want to release fake news on banality. And as to answer your question, the main issues I'm working on is how to help women to feel comfortable with themselves in their job, in their body, in their aging, especially in the aging with menopause, and when there is this big change in the woman life.
And my last question to you now, Alessandra, and this is for the many, many people who will listen to our conversation. Based on your incredible journey and all your learnings that you have traveled to so many different places, what would you say are 3 lessons you would want our viewers and listeners to take away from our conversation and from your own experiences?
Well, in first place, I would say, especially to young people, do not let anybody to tell you what you can or cannot do. On the contrary, put all the effort on being the best version of yourself by, for instance, developing your skills if you want to be so, if you want to be the best version of yourself. The second one is do not think you're alone in your daily fight. Sometimes knowing that there are many others in the same situation may help not feeling abandoned. What I feel is that many people feel abandoned because they think they are alone in their situation, in their fight.
Right.
And lastly, I would say the lesson I've learned is raise your hand and ask for help if you feel you need some help.
Amazing. And on that note, Alessandra, and your 3 amazing lessons, which is don't let anyone tell you what you can or cannot do. Do not think you are alone in your life. There is always someone there available to help. And the third one is raise your hand and ask for help if you need it. Thank you so much for speaking to me. Thank you for talking to me about your amazing journey. Thank you for talking to me about coaching and some of your own coaching philosophies and your thoughts. Thank you also for talking to me about women empowerment and what you are doing to support a lot of women. I'm looking forward to hearing when you have finished your book and publish it. Thank you for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.